Hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rest. Right now it's time for hemp.
It is time for Hemp again. Good afternoon, good morning, depending on your time of day when you are listening to this. Happy 2016 again. We'll be saying that a lot here just because, you know, the whole first month of the year is a good time to wish everybody success in their goals that they are trying to achieve and all their resolutions. My resolution is to help destroy as much marijuana in the United States as I possibly can. I'm going to be burning it one hit at a time. Maybe by the end of the year, I will have destroyed 2-3 pounds. We don't know. You are listening to Time for Hemp. It is Small Town Fridays. You are listening all around the world on Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, iHeartRadio. We are on the Roku TV network. God knows where you're listening at, maybe in your smart device that you've downloaded one of our apps. We do encourage you to go to our website, please, on a regular basis. Well, we like the traffic, for one, but we're also doing something you might really enjoy. I've been talking about a lot here on the program. We are growing marijuana on our site. That's right, baby. You can watch it morning, noon, and night, live streaming on the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Wolf Siegel is germinating seeds, putting together different types of tents. We got Crop King seeds growing there. We got Mr. Nice seeds growing in there. We got a variety of wonderful lights that have come from our sponsors. Check out our sponsors to make this happen. And Wolf is taking the garden from seed to plant to flower to pick to harvest to smoke every 17 weeks. And we're going to be doing this for 2 years. And every time we tear down one garden, we're going to build a bigger one the next time around. At the end of 2 years, the last garden we're going to be walking through will be that. We'll be walking through a 1/4-acre greenhouse, showing you how to grow for people that you care about, should you be a caregiver in your state. So go to timeforhemp.com and watch us grow marijuana live around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And those of you at Homeland Security, this will give you an opportunity to pick up some more tips to grow your own in your backyard as you pretend that you don't. With that said, I'm going to pass this conversation to my joint host. Don't forget, anytime you hear the word joint on the big broadcast, nearly 2.5 million people all around the world pack their bongs, their pipes, their vaporizers, and of course twist up a joint to take Time for Hemp. So I'm going to pass this joint chat over to my joint host and our joint guest here on the joint broadcast while we all jointly listen in and smoke our joints here at Time for Hemp. Michael?
Yes, Casper, thanks. It's so great to be here. You know, I think that eradication plan you were talking about is the one that Ed Rosenthal brought up, the Ed Rosenthal eradication plan, where we get rid of all the marijuana one joint at a time.
It is. It is.
I think he was actually going to put in a bid to the eradication program nationally and see if he couldn't get us, working that way. I mean,
but after he thought about it, he smoked a joint and then got high, forgot to do that.
Oh, darn it. All right. Well, I was really looking forward to that. We could all go out there and, get right in the fields and make this eradication program work.
I mean, we could do that as a joint effort, couldn't we?
I think so. So today, we're really, I think we're in for a treat here, Casper. We've got a guest in from Michigan, our Small Town Fridays. We're taking our little tour into Michigan. I want to introduce everybody to Dakota Blue Serna. And Dakota's coming to us from Michigan again. I really appreciate you coming and joining with us today on the radio. And if you could, Dakota, kind of take us back to the beginning and give us a little bit of taste of what it's been like, living out there in Michigan during these tumultuous years.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, you guys. We voted our medical marijuana laws back in 2008, and it's been kind of a little bit of a bumpy road. There's been some hiccups here and there, some run-ins with law enforcement, doing their thing. And slowly but surely we've added PTSD to qualifying conditions. And so I was able to, get my prescription and start medicating in the way that works best for me. And so far, we've seen a lot of legislation come in to where it makes it a little bit more difficult, to where we have to use these lock boxes, we have to drive with their medicine in the back seat or in the trunk. And, it's getting pretty interesting, and there's been this big gray area that's been created, but the legislators are pushing for some pretty strong restrictions here and regulation in our state for the medical marijuana program.
Yeah, I guess it was Montana that I was trying to think of there, Casper. I don't know why I pulled a complete brain dead moment on Montana, but we've.
I know why. I've seen how much you smoke.
I'm trying. I'll see if I can find that last brain cell and get rid of it this afternoon. But Dakota, tell us a little bit about your past. I know you are a prominent activist out in Michigan, not Montana, and you've actually participated in the process there in a variety of different ways. And I know that you've helped get veterans together. And I've actually was blessed enough to hear you speak out there at the Ann Arbor Hash Bash, and I think you did a great job, by the way. But what is it? Kind of transition us through from your world where you started out as an individual, veteran, kind of figuring out this stuff. Take us through to where you started hooking up with others and started working on activism.
Well, it all started before cannabis, actually. I had come back from Iraq and I was still in the Marine Corps, and then I'd go out drinking with my friends, and every now and then I'd go outside to smoke a cigarette, and I'd find one, off to the side somewhere in the shadows, bawling his eyes out, and I'd go talk to him, and then he'd just, tell me his story and cry on my shoulder. And that happened a lot. And then it just kind of, people started coming to me and just telling me their story and feeling better. And I was battling with the prescription drugs and, the stuff that they prescribed to me for my PTSD. So I really, I was having troubles of my own. And I didn't really, start solving those until I found cannabis. And that was, I think, 2 years after I got out of the Marine Corps. And so from there, I just, figured out, hey, this cannabis is helping me. I want to help veterans. Maybe I can share my story and, open up hearts and minds and get more people aware to the fact that cannabis not only heals veterans with PTSD, but all sorts of people, all sorts of ailments. And then, I met my beautiful girlfriend, Josie, who's a big activist for, medical marijuana. And, our first date was at the Capitol building at a Senate hearing here in Michigan. And from there, it's taken off.
That's awesome. Hey, what is it about the medical cannabis program out there that's helped you? In other words, was it the fact that cannabis was legal as a medicine in Michigan? Did that help you discover it and find it beneficial for yourself?
It made me able to talk about it in public. I was even before I got my recommendation, I was out and talking about it because it helped me on a medicinal level. And then finally PTSD got approved, and, I was able to sign up for my medical card, and I just wanted to do that out of respect for the medical patients in the community here, not being some, criminal outlaw trying to change things. And, but yeah, it's helping me able to open up and talk to legislators and senators and representatives without fear of any kind of backlash, as long as I'm within the limits of the law.
How is that working out for you, the limits of the law? The usefulness of cannabis for post-traumatic stress is quite obvious to us who are working in the field, but I think the VA is still kind of where we were, in the early 2000s as advocates. We knew a lot of vets that were using it, but we really didn't understand how it worked, and we were afraid to step forward because of the opposition. The opposition being from the psychiatric community, where they're looking at cannabis as a drug of abuse. So have you had trouble with that, kind of aspect of your world, trying to coordinate, use of cannabis under state law, and then, dealing with the psychiatrist or whoever that you might have to deal with for the rest of your, care and health?
Well, I mentioned it to a psychologist through the VA one time that, I had tried it and everything, and he immediately shut me up and told me never to talk about it again. And, so I really haven't been open with the VA about it as much as I should be or could be. But my feeling is, the people that are in charge, the ones making the decisions to allow this or not, they're the same. They got that old school mentality that drugs are bad and dope makes you stupid, or they got ties to where they make so much money off the pharmaceutical company, that they're going to do anything they can to keep cannabis away from, the people that need it. And the same thing goes for our elected officials. A lot of them, the ones that are on board with medical marijuana, only think it should be used for terminal cancer patients. And so they lack the education, and a lot of people do the same thing. Just go ahead and make these decisions without the proper education.
That's a shame that you see that kind of thing happening. People in a position of authority. Al Byrne has been railing about this, I know, recently on the various shows that I've been on with him, about how you have non-medical people making medical decisions for us all as legislators. In this new year, 2016, as we're coming into a kind of a whole new world on drug policy, I hope maybe we can start looking at things a little differently. And I think post-traumatic stress, cannabis, these are issues that are front burner issues for us as a people. We're not backing off on our war stance. We're still creating disabled veterans at an alarming rate, and the Iraq and Afghanistan veterans populations of post-traumatic stress sufferers are teetering on approaching the Vietnam era numbers, and I think that the psychiatric community, they're going to come around when the law has changed. I mean, I've listened to them speak, and it's very clear they're following the federal law very closely. The federal law says marijuana has no medical value. Therefore, they say marijuana has no medical value. So when we change the federal law, ironically, the psychiatric medical doctors at least will come around. Who won't come around probably will be the some of the same opponents that we have now that are going to be waiting for that double-blind, placebo-based study that actually tells them in blunt words, cannabis works for post-traumatic stress. And, we have lots of studies that say cannabis works for pain, cannabis works for nightmares, cannabis works for, components of post-traumatic stress, and components of cannabis work for those things. But somehow or another, components of cannabis working for various things doesn't equate in a lot of people's minds to the cannabis plant working for those things. And I mean, what would you say to that? What would you say to a high-ranking doctor that makes the argument that, oh, sure, THC is good and CBD is good and THCV is good, but you can't have the plant material because that's untested? What do you tell them?
Well, especially with doctors and everything, I remind them of a time that there was a point in our history where opening up stabbers or looking inside the human body was punishable by death. It was thought as witchcraft. A lot of medical procedures we know now these days and used successfully in treating patients and everything, the stuff that was, discovered back in the 1400s, 1500s, way back in the day, and people, they broke that law. They went outside that taboo and did it anyway and discovered amazing things. At one point in time, people thought that the sun revolved around the earth and that the earth was flat, and to preach otherwise meant death or imprisonment. It's the exact same thing. You got such a high amount of truth here that you can't deny it, and you only can fight it so long till eventually everybody's going to be awakened and either say, what the heck, what's going on, these things need to change, or they're going to change.
I love that. Jack Herer called them, said that the emperor has no clothes, and basically called them out for watching the emperor walk down the street naked and not saying anything. And you're actually doing them one better with that. I think that's a beautiful way of looking at it. They're the new flat earthers.
Right.
So I don't know how far we are off from a break there, Casper, but we're definitely going to get into some discussion. You've had some really interesting experience as of late in giving testimony in Michigan. Those who were paying attention to the news saw that you wound up having a kind of a face-to-face interaction with the chair of that Senate committee that you were testifying to. Your testimony interrupted the proceedings, and he forcibly had you thrown out. And I want to get into just about every aspect of that, but I think a lot of that's going to be after break. But I want you to set that up a little bit for us. What's going on in the law out there? Why were you going into a hearing? What was the background of that?
Well, first off, I had no intention of that happening.
We can get in that in detail, like I said, but I really want to just kind of set up, what was the issue? What was the bill? What was, kind of give us a background of why you were there.
Well, yeah, it was probably, I want to say like 2 months ago, they opened up and started testimony on Bill 4209. That's a dispensary bill here that they want to regulate the dispensaries here in Michigan. And I had followed it from the beginning all the way through the House and all that stuff. And when they introduced the bill into the Senate and started having the hearings on it, they weren't giving public testimony right away. So I sat and patiently waited week after week, as groups and companies came in and gave their testimony on why this bill should be put into place. And then finally, I had gotten my moment, and I went up there to speak out against the bill because I think it's a travesty. It's it's like 50 some odd pages long, and it's a whole bunch of garbage. Bringing in middlemen to bring in armored cars to transport cannabis, to create monopolies with big businesses through their licenses. And then they're going to tax medicine. They're going to tax the patients. And then they're going to give some of that money to the sheriff's departments that run these drug task forces, the same people that have been kicking in doors the last couple of years and ruining lives. And that's what I was trying to...
And this is in response to the lack of dispensaries, that the fight over having any dispensaries, because I know there's been back and forth. There were dispensaries and they got shut down, and
well, they're just trying to regulate it. They're forcing dispensary owners to get a license that it's a 3-tiered system to where they can grow 500, 1,000, 1,500 plants. But then you have to have a specific grower's license to do that. Then you have to go through a middleman, armored car companies who transport that to the distribution site. And there still hasn't been a price set for how much it's going to cost for that. But if you look at Chicago and Illinois, it's $1.5 million. Colorado is $250,000 to get a license to open a dispensary. So it's just, then those are the models that they want to follow. It's Colorado because they saw the dollar signs and went cha-ching.
Wow,
and,
because here in Oregon, it's a whole lot less than that. It's a couple $100,000 or about $80,000 or $100,000. It's some nonsensical that John Q. Public, who just rolled out of bed and picked the sand out of his eyes today, could not normally afford, right? But It is somebody in the community who can afford it, so we don't have to worry about some sort of business coming from out of state with their corporate ideas and changing things. So I think that's why they said it like that. Now, one of the things that we do not have here is corporate sponsors, but we have a lot of great sponsors who have a lot of great products here on the Global Broadcasting Network. And we ask that you come to timeforhemp.com, click on their banners, and let them know how much you appreciate their work here in the marijuana movement by providing good quality products for us to enjoy, and that you also appreciate them supporting our team here at Time for Hemp. You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
'cause me have the brownies in the oven for tonight, yeah.
Yes, I do. Oh, yes, I do. I smoke it too. Oh, I love my marijuana here at Time for Hemp. It is the Global Broadcasting Network. We used to be 1 hour a day. Now we're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all cannabis, all the time. The only 24-hour-a-day broadcasting network focused on the ending of prohibition on iHeartRadio. We've also found ourselves in Roku TV Network. We've got another television network on there. I think it's called U.S. Weed. You might make it a point to check them out. They're a good team of people. And Pot TV is now doing programming up in Canada. All of my friends up there. Crop King Seeds has put together a nice little TV studio for Mark Emery and his friends to broadcast from. Speaking of Mark Emery, he is a host here on the Broadcasting Network, as all are about 20 other people. If you like this program, check out what else we've got. Every other program is music. Every other program is talk here on Time for Hemp. Enough of the same selfless, Enough of the selfless promotion. Boy, that's hard to say when you're half high. And I'm going to pass this joint chat over to my joint friends here at Time for Hemp.
Thank you, Casper. Thank you. It's so great to be here. Mike Krawitz here on a small town Friday in the new year, and we're sitting with Dakota Blue Serna in a small town in Michigan. And I think Dakota's kind of on the edge of his seat to tell us a story here, Casper. The media reports that I got basically summed it up this way: that after Dakota was done, talking about some of the horrors of war, which were pretty horrific in graphic detail, he was somewhat surprised to hear so much opposition to him, rather matter-of-factly stating something about the jackbooted thugs that exist in the drug police community.
Well, that gives me a chance to jump in there for just a minute. Dakota, apparently, when you sat down to take Time for Hemp, you didn't need the whole seat. You only needed the edge. Go ahead and tell us.
So tell us, Dakota. What exactly were you trying to say there, and were you kind of surprised by the response?
Oh yeah, I was actually really surprised. I was able to maintain my cool and everything, and I even pushed in my chair when I got up to leave. So you obviously can tell I wasn't like out of control, but it I was trying to portray to him and to the panel and the committee that, I don't have a problem with the police officers. I don't have a problem with them whatsoever, but it's the laws and the lawmakers that allow this behavior to happen. And these police officers, they have a job to do. And some of them even think it's the right thing to do, to be going into homes and kicking in doors, shooting dogs and rounding up the family, scaring everybody, hauling parents off to jail, throwing kids into CPS protection, and taking everything that they own and seizing it for their profits. And the bill that I was speaking against gives money back to these same people. And that's what I was trying to portray to them and let them know. But, yeah, he cut me off. He didn't give me a chance to really apologize or take back what I said. It was just, okay, you're done, looking for any reason to kick me out.
In defense of what you said, a group of officers that show up to a yard in Detroit to serve a typical drug warrant with a armored assault vehicle, who then take a battering ram through the door after firing off a flash grenade through the window, as you say, routinely shooting dogs and other household pets while pointing guns at anything that breathes, including little children or whatever, with machine guns in their face. It's hard to not call those individuals jackbooted thugs. I mean, the thing about it is, those same officers doing what they're trained to do, standing in a room of Al-Qaeda where there's no children and no dogs, and the flash grenade actually prevented the Al-Qaeda from forming a defense. So the grenades and everything were still on the table as they were taken into custody. Wow, that's a bunch of very good, well-trained pseudo, local militia helping to defend our country. But when it's aimed at a drug arrest, I think that's where the jackboot thugs comes in. But anyway, I think that the senator took it as kind of a turf thing, that you were calling out one of the people on his side of the turf, that their state, their state employees, and I think he felt a knee-jerk response to defend other state employees. But he wasn't really speaking from the right place to be a moral authority, was he? I mean, what's his history with? He had a history with kind of interaction and foul kind of response to his words.
Well, I've come to learn that he was a sheriff in Eaton County for quite a while. I think it was like 20 or 30 years. I'm not sure if he was like the head honcho or not, but he definitely, he's been on that side of the field for quite some time. So it's, it's obvious to see why his views are askew. But, I used the term jackboot thugs on purpose. I didn't know it was going to be offensive, but that's how I viewed myself when I did the same thing over in Iraq, man. There was two different parts of my deployment. One was full-on combat in Operation Phantom Fury, and then, we did a little bit of policing before that all kicked off. And so there was times where we kicked in the doors and did the same things, and I felt like a thug, dude. I wasn't winning hearts and minds. I was scaring these people, putting fear into them. And not only did the people of Iraq have to worry about U.S. forces, but once U.S. forces left their area, the bad guys would come in. Al-Qaeda would come in and torture these people and kill them off too. And that same situation is happening over in our country, man. We have radical jihadists running around doing their thing. We got police officers kicking in doors, arresting citizens, doing that thing too, man. So it's like, it's just creating this big suction of fear all over. And I witnessed it firsthand. I participated in it. And I want to bring light to that because it's not okay. It's not okay to be treating American citizens or other human beings like dogs and throwing them in jail over a plan.
Absolutely not. I think you'll find a lot of agreement here, right, Casper? But I think that you've vicariously tapped into a really broad subject matter, and I think that your experience is one that's kind of helped bring to the surface some issues, at least for me and for a couple others that are watching this. Kind of strategic issues. How exactly do we want to present ourselves? There's a spectrum of opinions about your action. What kind of responses did you get from people about what happened?
Overwhelmingly, I've received positive responses from most everybody, and that includes people active in the military and active police officers getting a hold of me saying, yeah, I know what you're talking about. The drug task forces are a problem. Those guys are brutal. And there's been a few people, guys who are friends or supporters of, the senator that have spoken out against me, but it doesn't hold any weight because, well, I won't get into that. But, yeah, so far so good. Everybody's been really, really supportive for it.
It's interesting. I think that the couple of naysayers that I know that have spoken to you, because I was kind of party to a little bit of that background, I think that they would be surprised by that. They would have expected a lot worse. And I think there's a certain, believe it or not, knee-jerk reaction of our top level, kind of the grass tops of our marijuana movement, to be very over-respectful, to be over, in some respects nowadays, to give too many, give up too many things that in negotiation that we don't need to give up anymore. We're kind of in a better position than we once were, and it really brings into light how we present ourselves, how we get through. Because I think your legislature is like a lot of legislatures that I see around the states, and it's kind of a tough nut to crack, if you will, where you've got a lot of very conservative leadership that aren't really respecting the will of the people. That's why we have a lot more conservative laws in places where we don't have the initiative process because of that. And a lot of the things that you've done in the initiative, that's probably the only way you could have done it. You probably wouldn't have been able to get it through the legislature. Go ahead. Yeah.
It's like these people, the people that elect these representatives in the office, they want to trust them to be making the right decisions for us. And, I'm not going to say that they haven't been, but in this particular issue, they weren't. I don't know if they were blind to what was going on, or, if they were for it because they're making something out of it. I don't know. But, once the little guys stepped up and didn't bow down to the crack of the whip, it definitely shook some boots. And I don't want to go like all political revolution on anything. I don't want anything to come to violence, man. But, we are our representatives, checks and balances. We are the people. We have the power. And, that's something we got to remember.
Absolutely. I think that, there is a certain decorum. You were dressed nice. You were respectful to the committee. I think there's a certain baseline of behavior, but then there is an area of kind of gray. Where how do you approach these issues? How do you approach these well entrenched status quo? And I think that your testimony, that's what it did. It kind of shook up this status quo.
Well, I kind of jumped in their faces right off the bat when I started. I don't dress nice. I don't do the suit and tie thing. I'm just a rough and tough guy trying to make a difference. And but like when they look at me, I got the tattoos, got the beard, but I'm actually a really nice guy. It kind of throws them off balance, and they pay attention more. And in this particular case, I wore my nice shirt. I got a haircut, and so I tried to be as respectful as possible. And I don't know if if I was there to offend the guy, I would have used much more colorful language.
And the funny thing is that probably would have played right into his hands, and it wouldn't have worked out well. But it's a funny situation where you have to be very respectful in the way that you tell them off.
Yeah, I learned from it. It's gonna, it's not gonna be the last to hear from me. But I'm definitely not going away.
Yeah. I think that's what I'm trying to do right now is kind of learn from it. The testimony is often cut so short. They give you so little time to speak, and they often do defer to law enforcement. That's one of the reasons why I'm so supportive of LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. It gives an alternative. Yeah, it gives an alternative law enforcement viewpoint to the paid viewpoint. I mean, the state police are there; they're paid to be there. What they're going to say.
Yep, and it's funny because like the whole month that all the testimony was going on from law enforcement and all these other companies, they got like anywhere from 15 minutes to 20 minutes, and their time wasn't cut short. But anybody who speaks out against their agenda, they only get a 2-minute limit, and they make it well noted that they don't want you speaking. So it's a nasty mess, man. And the more and more people wake up, and the more people who say something about it, the better, the quicker things are going to change.
Yeah, you bring in 200 people, that way everybody gets 2 minutes, you have 400 minutes, and it kind of offsets the scale.
Well, yeah, but there wasn't that much testimony for it. It just, every single time any of those cards get put in where they want to speak against, what they're favoring, it's always, hey, you've got this set amount of time, but when anybody else wants to do it, they got all the time in the world, man. The people that'll make them money.
That's very unfortunate, but I guess that makes us have to be, 8 times better so that we can be as effective with a 2-minute speech as they are with their 15-minute speech. Maybe you need to sing them a song. You could do that in 2 minutes. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know if they allow guitars in the Senate chambers, man. It'd be worth looking into.
Well, I'm going to be singing the blues if I don't pay my bills. And so that's what we're going to do here at Time for Hemp. Take a commercial break just for about a minute and a half. Say thank you to one of our sponsors, and then we're going to pick up where we left off here at Time for Hemp.
Are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain for patients seeking quick pain relief. Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
Well, I once had a bowl, good green reefer, a big fat Jones beef, much sweeter. Hide it, don't hide it. Hide it, don't hide it. Well, hide it, don't hide it. Hide it, don't hide it. Well, hide it, don't hide it. Fire it up right now.
Yeah, baby, fire up right now. Be loud, be proud, come out of the closet. Unless, of course, you're growing marijuana in your closet and it's flowering and you don't want the light in. I guess you're stuck in there till the morning, but other than that, come out of the closet and let the whole world know that you do utilize recreational marijuana, perhaps even medical cannabis. Oh, my gosh, you might even be for the idea of using hemp for a variety of the 50,000 products that can be made here at home instead of imported. There's a lot of good things that happens when you end prohibition, especially your neighbors stop being arrested for doing something with a plant. Hello. With that said, I'm going to pass this joint chat back to my joint friends here at Time for Hemp.
Hey. How you doing, Casper?
Groovy.
Dakota, I'm sure that it was upsetting, having the Capitol Police in your face, pulling you out of the hearing and everything. But I guess on the end, I'm thinking from what you're saying that you think it was more effective than had you not used that phrase. Had you been forewarned of his response and not used that phrase, jackbooted thugs, and he hadn't responded, and you had just finished what you had said and moved on, having finished your whole 2 minutes that you were given, that you might not have had as much of an impact on the process. Is that true?
Yeah, dude. And, I don't want to see this, I don't want it to come across as a threat or anything, but just where I was 5 years ago on all the prescription medications, I'm thankful to whoever created me and all that stuff that that I discovered medical marijuana, and I was able to keep my cool. He didn't get under my skin. He didn't offend me so much as to where I felt the need to flip out and be an asshole, because that's who I'm sorry. Because that's who I was, when I was on the prescription medications, man. I was a monster. I got married young and destroyed a marriage and, destroyed myself. And, if it wasn't for cannabis, man, I wouldn't be here today. And so I think it did, it made more of an impact, not just in Michigan, but nationwide.
Wow. I'm sorry that you had to go through that. I wish that there was a way that we could integrate these treatments better and have cannabis be another option on the table for the psychiatric community. I guess we'll get them along, eventually. In a way, I'm sitting here thinking, they're saying the opposite that we're saying. We're saying, if we just put down all their pills and use cannabis, we'll be fine. And they're saying, if you just put down all those illegal drugs and use our pills, we'll be fine. But the reality is that a lot of vets have gone down that road and taken just the pills, and it didn't work out that well.
And some of the pill veterans do have success with the pills, and so if it works for them and they're able to maintain a healthy lifestyle, I say why not, But for me, I'm finding that nature provides every medicine you need. You just got to find it.
It's a difficult path to try to find the foods and the medicines that you need nowadays. Just trying to eat healthy and eat local is a real challenge. But tell us a little bit about what's going on now. What's the next iron that's going to be put in the fire there in Michigan? I mean, this fight's not over. That bill didn't pass, right?
From what I understand is that the bill died after that. It lost all support from a lot of major players. But the senator is going to try to take it back to the Senate to get it voted through by them. So we'll see where that goes. So far, I don't know. It's it's a real big 50-50 chance there. But I met a great group of guys out at the DPA conference, and some of the other guys that I had met through doing veterans panels from the High Times Cups. And we're putting together, the formation of a nationwide veterans alliance that's going to, provide services for people getting out of the military, homeless veterans, and reaching out to our communities where veterans live to, be the voice and be the inspiration to make communities better. And so that's going to be coming hopefully sometime next year. But, on a local level, I just keep an eye out and watch out for the legislation that's coming through to see, how negatively it affects us. And hopefully I get a chance to fight it. And we're also I got a good buddy of mine, Barry Richardson. He was a Coast Guard veteran. And him and I, along with a couple other guys, are trying to do a shipping container commune, where we take these shipping containers and turn them into portable housing units to where eventually we can house homeless veterans and, put them on the right track in life. And it's all about the greater good. It's all about helping our friends and helping our brothers and sisters out, get a step in life and, hopefully be able to live a happy life. And
I wonder what a community, if let's say Detroit gave a mile of dirt to the vets to set up a little community, build, have a little bit of resources that we could draw on to put some street lights in. And I wonder what it would be like. I wonder what the veteran town would be like. I wonder what the vibe would be like. There'd be good weed there. I guarantee that.
That's what I'm going for, man, is because if you got a big enough plot of land, you can grow food, you can cultivate and harvest cannabis and use it all as therapy, man. You can bring on horses, you can bring in skilled trades, teach people how to do stuff and make these crafts, and you can create a little economy. It would be better and run, of course, but it also, eventually once it gets big enough, you can do whole families and you can create whole towns that way. And it's a wonderful idea. Hopefully, one day we can make it that far.
Well, I on one hand, I'm disappointed in the system, that we paid taxes into the VA and the U.S. federal government for dropping the ball, because I think, a lot of the work that we do, coordinating vets services and even the housing stuff is really stuff that they've dropped the ball on. But on the other hand, I'm really excited to see the new developments, and I'm really excited to work with you and everybody, on national veterans alliances. And I think that there's 2 or 3 different ideas that are coming up. Some of them commercial, some of them non-commercial, by different vets, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they kind of matriculate into our world. Veterans for Medical Cannabis Access has taken a real kind of central diplomatic role in bringing veterans organizations together. And we had a great meeting up there at DPA, and where we were able to kind of have a real roundtable, and as the central kind of part of that, lay out the lay of the land, and give you kind of the update from the field from the 100 vets or so that are working in the various states, doing some really great things. Everything from Washington State, where they're trying to set up vets alternative treatment centers, down to Florida, where they're trying to shape the next big medical marijuana state through veterans input, and everything in between. So I'm really, really proud of you guys, and excited to see what you come up with.
Yeah, a lot more vets are they're opening their mouths and they're having their voices heard, and that's the drawback of coming back from combat, is when you get out of the military and you're back home, you also often feel isolated and alone. So, once you go out there and you find your friends and they got the same ideas you do, it just grows from there. And that's what kind of brought me to my buddy Doc Gage. He was a contractor prior military, but later on in the years he became a contractor, and he went over into Afghanistan there for a while, and he found some plants growing 8,000 feet up in the air, and they were they were in the mountains, and they were frozen in the ground. So he ripped these things out, man, brought them home, and found out that it helps with his PTSD. And so now he's got these seeds going, and he's got this book out. It's called The Strains of War, and you can find it on Amazon. But yeah, dude, it's all about his journey and his struggles, and finding his salvation through cannabis and wanting to share it with all of his brothers. And through the veteran community, when it comes to reaching out to help, man, you see a lot more people wanting to do it because it's the right thing rather than doing it to make a dollar. And that's the beautiful thing about it all. These people are doing it out of the kindness of their heart.
That is kind of a rarity today, I guess, as well as a beautiful thing. Unfortunately, kind of rare today. What kind of websites do you have for people to get information about what's going on in Michigan or the veterans projects that you're working with?
Well, there really isn't much of a organization as much as I'd like to, but we're working on it. They got this project called 0 Hour, and it's all this guy who employs nothing but veterans, and they go around fixing up buildings, tearing down buildings, and doing a bunch of urban renovations. And then my organization, the Green Union, it's a nonprofit union that started out in trying to help veterans, but it grew into building up the community and helping out our communities through food drives and stuff like that. And then my girlfriend has her organization, Sons and Daughters United, which is more of a parent advocacy group, fighting for the rights to medicate children and parents being medicated and it being okay. But they've also extended a branch of where I can work with veterans, children of veterans who are maybe affected with parents with PTSD and stuff like that. So it's a whole bunch of little groups that I'm, hoping to work with and, unite under one big flag and be able to better reach out on a national level to help out that way.
Excellent. Well, those that want to connect up with Veterans for Medical Cannabis Access can certainly do so on Facebook, Facebook.com/USA.VMCA for Veterans for Medical Cannabis Access. And we try to keep up with the news, so it's a good central place to get kind of the updates on anything happening on the front lines. Right now we're still waiting very anxiously, just a few days away. Really, hopefully, we'll be getting the new VA medical marijuana policy. If they don't come through, if they allow the 31st January deadline to roll over without a new policy, what do you think? What would be your thoughts on that? What would you say to the VA, to ask them to not allow that deadline to expire?
Man, I don't know. We do need the VA, but right now I would honestly have them focus on leadership positions and the person that can provide the best benefits and health care to the veterans. That's plain and simple as it is.
Fix their health.
More and more. Just replacing people that, that aren't in it to make money or are in it to push their personal agendas or anything like that, but to open their minds to alternative medicines, the things that people are speaking up about that, hey, this is healing. Like I said, if prescription drugs work for people, I'm not going to knock them for it, but there's this amazing world of holistic medicine out there that needs to be addressed. And the people that are for that should be in charge. People that have an understanding of these things should be making these decisions.
Works for me. How about you, Casper?
Fantastic.
Hey, man, it's really been a great pleasure to have you on the show, Dakota, and I wish you well. I hope everything that you're working on springs great new prospects in this new year, and hopefully we'll be able to update with you in the future and see how these things are unfolding. What do you think, Casper?
I absolutely agree. I'm looking forward to it, and I see that you're trying to pass the conversation back to me, so let's make that happen. So, if you had an opportunity to talk to the whole UN body right now, what is it that you would put forth, sir?
Well, we're
no, I'm sorry, Michael. I know what you would say. I'm talking to Dakota.
Okay, good. That'd be clear who you're talking to there, Casper.
If I were addressing the whole UN, I would ask them to, tell me what their plan, their goal, their mission statement is. I want them to tell me face to face what it is you want to do with the world. And then I would tell them, this thing is saving my life. This thing is saving my neighbor's life. It's saving everybody's life. Why aren't you addressing it? Fit this into your mission statement. If you are for a better world, why are you not addressing this? And I would call them out on it. I'm not here to play games with anybody anymore, dude. This is life. This is survival. This is the better future for our children. I've got a daughter on the way now. I'm not going to have her look up to me and say my daddy sat by and did nothing, So it's like that, man. It's just you got to get face to face with these people and call them on their garbage.
I love it. What do you think, Casper?
I think it's time to wrap the show up. If you want to give a shout out to your favorite URL or organization, now is the time. Dakota,
we done did that already. Hey, I'll tell you what, Dakota.
Well, I know you've did that, but sometimes you just can't say it enough when you have the opportunity to freely advertise on radio. So why not just step on that opportunity for our guests to do that again?
Dakota, I want to thank you for your sentiment. I think it was a beautiful statement, and I just want you to know that that's very similar to what Uruguay, it seems, will be saying, to the General Assembly. Just so you know.
That's beautiful, man. And I'll just finish it with, thanks, guys, for having me on, man. This is, seriously one of the coolest shows that I've ever been a part of. And, shout out to everybody who's working in the hemp industry, man. That stuff's just going to make this world a much better place. And hopefully we can cover the globe with it one day, man. And so everybody who's fighting the good fight, I thank you. And, you guys have a great day.
And Michael?
Hey, man, love you, Casper. Everybody, pay attention to what's going on. Join the New York NGO committee. Pay attention to this World Drug Summit coming up in April. We're going to change the world, but we got to pay attention.
And I want to remind people that we are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, not just 1 hour broadcasting as we used to be in the good old days when Time for Hemp was just a program on American Freedom Radio. But now we have our own broadcasting network with a great team of people who are dedicated to ending prohibition. We're also growing marijuana on our site. Go check it out. You can watch that happen live. Share that with your friends. Lots of free MP3s in all of our archives to download. You can also find your favorite apps there on our homepage to download into your smart devices to take us on the go. And remember, Time for Hemp is like a great joint. We're always best when you share us with your friends.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look and spend some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. The only broadcasting network dedicated to ending the global war on drugs on iHeartRadio.
Cause it's 2 joints to Memphis and a ½ ounce to San Antonio. It's a good thing I don't live too far. I'd never make it home. When I'm driving down the highway, when I ride the couch alone. Oh, it's 2 joints to Memphis and a ½ ounce to San Antonio. I'm waiting for my girlfriend to come over. I'm in the mood to roll a big cigar. It's a good thing there's a store up on the corner. It's a good thing that my girlfriend has a car. Because it's 2 joints to the shopping mall and a ½ ounce to San Antonio. It's a good thing I don't live too far. I'd never make it home. When I'm driving down the highway, when I ride the couch alone. Oh, it's 2 joints to Memphis and a ½ ounce to San Antonio. It's a good thing there's a store at every exit. I need papers or a bowl or something sweet. I got cotton mouth and munchies. I suspect it's from the weed. So I guess we're pulling off again to eat. Cause it's 2 joints to Memphis and a ½ ounce to San Antonio. It's a good thing I don't live too far. I'd never make it home. like a spider to a fly, like every dog must have his bone. Oh, it's 2 joints to Memphis and a half ounce to San Antone. Remember last year when we drove both near and far? We were stopping every hour. I couldn't get you back in the car. It's a good thing since California became medical, 'cause buying at dispensaries is great.
Give me the space cakes.
It doesn't help me often out on the highway, but they take my card in 7 other states.
That can be important.
So it's 2 joints to Memphis and a half ounce to San Antone. It's a good thing I don't live too far. I'd never make it home. When I'm driving down the highway, when I ride the couch alone. Oh, it's 2 joints to Memphis and a half ounce to San Antone. Yes, it's 2 joints to Memphis and a half ounce to San Antone. 2 joints to Memphis and a half ounce to San Antone.